Hi, this is Daniel,
And I'm Ruth.
and back at Israel Uncovered.
Yeah.
And today we're gonna have a little chat about Trump. Is Trump crazy, Ruth? What's your take? What's been happening?
I didn't think that I would ever be a fan of Donald Trump. I really didn't. Um, I can't say I'm a huge fan, but put it this way, he is at the moment speaking mine and our language here. And that for me is it's very refreshing, actually.
What do you mean he's speaking your
So
language?
he is demanding every hostage to be brought home Saturday by noon. And we haven't heard anything from that from any world leader in 16 months.
And by the way, it's funny you say speaking our language because to me it's just we don't negotiate with terrorists. It's the
Yeah.
language which every democratic Western leaders should speak.
Yes.
Which kind of
Agree.
goes to what you say. It's like, why did people not say that from day one?
Right.
That, in a way, that's to me, I just see that's the only acceptable thing that Biden could have said in October 8th.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. And I think Biden did what he could, but I think he was just a bit past it to really deliver what we needed him to do. And the fact that Trump has also released the weapons to us, yeah,
Well,
because we've been fighting this war with one hand behind our back,
right.
And I feel that Trump is going to allow us to finish the job like it should be done.
Right. Well, it comes down to kind of like based on what you say, it's weakness. So, like, when you have a weak leader and all the conversations are in a weak space, you're just giving an opening to more chaos, more leverage for the terrorists. Everyone should negotiate. Let's have another chat in Qatar. Let's have another chat in Egypt. Let's find something that works for everyone. Again, the default was let's negotiate with terrorists.
Yes.
Put in another way. So what you're saying is like, no, we don't negotiate with terrorists. You have 2 days to bring everyone back, and they will have all the weapons they need to deal with it if you don't. So that puts you in a position of power, which in a way doesn't encourage war. It deters it.
It deters
it's deterrence to like strength and determination. And I think that's the sad part. And by the way, that's what I was like really scared of Kamala Harris winning, because I was like, the way I saw it is like, oh my God, I just don't want another 4 years of this shit.
And it would have just dragged on and on and on.
And I agree with you, by the way. I don't like Trump do I think he's a role model for like men and women? And do I think he's like the most inspiring person on the way he addresses? Do I think he's like a classy speaker that inspires with his speech and his rhetoric?
No, absolutely not.
Right.
But
his policy is, I actually think his policy when it comes to the Middle East, and not just now, I mean, the Abraham Accords, the fact that there was zero war, the fact that, yes, he does say these really inflammatory things to showcase strength if anybody messes up. But what he did with Iran was actually to cut the fundings and to stop sponsoring terrorism and not to be in this wishy-washy grey space and grey area, which is what causes all the wars.
Yeah.
So in terms of like policy, he did bring a level of peace which was unprecedented. He fostered relationship with countries that Israel didn't even imagine it could be possible.
Yeah.
And I think actually his ambition is ultimately the same. And when he says hell is gonna break loose, it doesn't necessarily mean the whole of Gaza should be like bombed again or nuked. Which, by the way, yes, it is an option.
Yeah.
But what he means is like stop fucking around, or like maybe there won't be like another. It could be that there isn't like another truck of 8 until you don't release the hostages. So not all the outcomes lead to bombing somewhere. There's a million other ways to apply pressure.
But he has a get shit done attitude, which I just find refreshing in a world where it's like, oh, let's see if we can do this. Oh, no, but not. It's like 1 step forward, 10 steps back, I feel,
because you're dealing with terrorism.
Yeah.
So if you're dealing with jihadists,
they
thrive on that ambiguous discourse. So that's the whole problem here.
Yes.
That there's not a clear cut of like, no, we don't accept a group like the KKK. We don't accept a group like the Nazis in Germany. We don't accept a group like ISIS or like Al Qaeda or like Hamas.
Yeah.
So, you know, do you confront something and take a firm stand on it? Or do you say, let's have a negotiation? It's like, no. And if we don't have a negotiation, I'm sorry, but no more aid or no sanctions reliefs, or like, you know, there's a million ways to stop funding it, which, by the way, all these groups, again, yes, they're based on an ideology, but without money. I always say it, if Europe and the US and the rest of the world stop sending money, their option for people living there will be to start planting tomatoes and having normal lives.
I was in the UK last week, in London last week. The fact that I'm in a country that has committed to refunding UNRWA for £17 million of the UK taxpayers'
Spain the
money.
Same, by the way. Spain the same. They double down.
Is just, to me, it's just.
They're supporting terrorism.
They are clearly.
They're financing terrorism
in broad daylight, and the fact that Trump has just gone, nope, not doing it. Thank you very much.
And by the way, Spain, they doubled down on their funding of UNRWA. So while the strongest Western leaders are saying, hey, we're not happy financing terrorism, and there's a very clear connection between them, England goes back, Spain doubles down, and Spain is in a really sticky economic position. Plus, they have like a whole of natural disasters in Valencia. So they're dealing with like a lot of internal shit.
Yeah.
And yet they find the budget to double down on funding a terrorist organization or an organization with a humanitarian front that doubles down as a terrorist conduit to send money to all these billionaires buying apartments in Qatar. And it's sad because they literally made a clear allegiance. And that's why when people say like, oh, well, it's so weird that Hamas keeps putting these press releases out thanking the government of Spain for their actions. And I'm like, well, of course. But what people in Spain struggle to understand is that, yes, it is sad for people in Israel when this happens, but it's tragic and catastrophic for everyone in Spain.
Yeah.
When you make that alliance.
And the UK as well.
Of course.
It's, yeah. So, but I think also being in the UK, I was there when Trump announced, you know, his plan for Riviera and Gaza.
Right.
And the reaction in the UK was just one of shock and horror. And even my father was shocked and horrified by it. I actually was, I think, having been here, kind of learned a little bit of Trump's way and not to take everything quite as he says it. But then when I listened to Douglas Murray, his sort of debrief of what Trump had said, excellent.
Well, in my view,
excellent.
What he's done is basically just like you starting a negotiation from a completely different place.
Yeah.
So instead of going back to the same fucking, oh yeah, let's this and humanitarian and two-state solution, he's like, no, how about we start the negotiation about the future of Gaza from the place of everyone get the fuck out. This is like a jihadist infested piece of land. And let's see what we can do. And let's work alongside all the progressive Arab leaders in the region.
Yeah.
And let's all take collective responsibility. I'm going to take responsibility for this patch of land.
Yeah.
And that's the starting point. So again, it caused outrage and aura because he knows he's going to do it. And it's intended to cause that outrage and aura.
But also people in Gaza saying, well, that's, you know, this is our home.
You don't know what people in Gaza are saying. That's not what they're saying. That's what Hamas is saying. Most people in Gaza, you give them an opportunity to get an apartment anywhere else in the world and they'll take it. That's the reality. Or in Gaza or Ukraine or in north of Israel.
But hold on, most of the population in Gaza think their home is in Israel. So now their home is in Gaza.
They don't have electricity. They don't have water.
Yes.
But you give someone, any of them, an option to have an apartment anywhere else, and they'll take it just if your home has been broken in Ukraine or in the north of Israel. It doesn't matter. This story that like they say that everyone just wants to stay there, it's a lie.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to stay in a place where there's rubble instead of a house when you don't have electricity or water.
Yeah.
So people keep listening to these messages from Hamas. It's like in Cuba when or in North Korea. If the information coming out saying like, no, everyone is happy here and everyone loves it and nobody wants to leave North Korea. everyone would want to live there.
Yeah.
They just can't say anything, and nobody can know what people actually think or say. That is the problem. That the information coming out of Gaza via Hamas has been totally legitimized, but that is not the will of the people. And the will of any normal person without access to like a fucking bed and electricity and water is to live wherever you can go. They don't care if it's Israel or Egypt or Jordan or wherever.
Yeah.
And the same is to someone in the north of Israel when like 10% of the north has been depopulated. And by the way, there are towns here that also look like Gaza.
Yes.
Completely destroyed.
Especially in the north.
Inhabitable.
Yeah.
And all those people, as much as they love their little town, they want to get the fuck out.
Yeah.
That's just human. And anyone that tells you otherwise is a liar.
Yes. Yes. So
anyway, I think it's positive. I think it's about a negotiation. I think it's taking the conversation another way. And the other thing I was going to say is that it's intentionally designed to cause outrage.
Yes.
In the same way that the
hostage, Trump?
Of course.
Yes.
In the same way that the hostage release performances are designed and staged to cause outrage. He knows how to speak to them in a language that people understand. He knows that the world will be like, oh my God, he's going to kill Gaza. Oh my God.
But it brings attention to it.
Oh, but it's not just that. Everyone is like, oh my God, America's going to own Gaza. Oh my God. He knows that's going to be the reaction.
Yeah.
But by now, if you don't understand or know that there's a much deeper, well thought out plan and strategy in place for the next 5 years, already negotiations with all the progressive Arab states and with Israel
are there?
In place,
are there? Because I haven't.
Did you not see what happened in the Abraham Accords? Of course you haven't seen them because you're not going to see them until it actually happens. And that's the genius of Trump. Did you see the Abraham Accord happening? No. You woke up one morning and it happened.
And it was in place. Yeah.
That's his modus operandi. He would say, look over here, let me say something outrageous. I'll be doing the work to actually generate the actual stability.
Yeah.
And people are falling for it like fucking morons, just as they fall for it for the video of the hostage releases with shock and outrage, because just as their little stunt performance is designed to cause outrage, everyone, oh my God, everyone in Gaza is a terrorist, everyone's Hamas, they're strong again, all of that, which they're not. Trump's statement is also just as designed to cause outrage and to get the world with, hands up enough. You think he doesn't know that's going to be the reaction? He's designed to put the finger on that.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, he's done incredible stuff in terms of like sanctioning the ICC for the like stupid behavior.
Yeah.
Getting all the people out. By the way, also placing policies in terms of America. Students that support Hamas that are not American citizens will be deported.
Yes, good.
Because it's a terrorist organization.
Right.
Again, there's nothing shocking about it.
No.
Even in Europe, it's also a designated terrorist organization. The fact that there are students promoting and showcasing terrorist organization, they should be deported too because it's illegal. And you're not even a citizen of the country. So again, he's doing stuff behind the scenes while everyone is like, oh my God, he's at the Riviera of the Middle East. He knows everyone's going to latch onto that. And he's going to implement policies that are actually effective, efficient, necessary, and that there's nothing controversial about them.
And better for human beings.
Better for the country.
Better for the country. Better for their country.
And also that aligned to the law. There's nothing controversial about deporting a student that is not from your country, that is promoting a terrorist organization designated by your country.
Keir Starmer is a wet blanket in comparison.
Yeah, again, I'm not into politics so much. I just care about what the outcome is for people living here.
Yeah.
I also think it's really important to speak about the sentiment here about Trump.
Yeah, I think here, from what from people I speak to, from what I read in the media and things, Israel is pro-Trump.
Yeah.
And I'm speaking generally, but that is the attitude here because our aim is to bring our hostages home.
And peace and stability.
So
and more Abraham Accords and more good relationship with our neighbors so that we can travel to Dubai. So again, people here love Trump, not because what he said to this woman 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Nobody gives a shit here.
No,
and
it's
again,
about,
in the US,
it's about our security.
And in the US, people care about like how much is their petrol and how much is the shopping. They also don't give two shits about Gaza, and they shouldn't. and they don't give two shits about what he said to this woman 30 years ago. They guess they care about their elected politician implementing policies affecting their lives, and that applies to people in America, and that applies to people here. And the way already, Qatar threw the Hamas people from the country before he took office. He defunded all these terrorist things. He took office. And by the way, the same with US AID. The moment he stopped those billions of dollars going to the Palestinian Authority in the West Bank, all of a sudden they don't have money to pay terrorists. Which they have this paper slave policy,
which has now
right. But explain it. What it means is that a terrorist that kills, they get like a stipend and they get money,
and then the family
the family
forever. So if they go to prison, the family will continue to be given a stipend.
So they get a pension based on how many Jews. Israelis and Jews they kill in Israel, and basically the more people you kill, the more money you get, and that money isn't coming from the tax they collect from the enterprises and the finance. It comes via US, UK, Europe. All the international aid ends up being funneled to fueling hate. I've always said it. The moment you cut money, people there are going to start living normal lives. Working the land, planting tomatoes, building businesses, coming up with ideas. The moment you just keep throwing money at a problem where the people at the top don't want to solve it, but want to buy luxury apartments in Qatar while keep funding terrorism so that most of the population keeps enslaved, and you only reward those terrorists, you're screwed. And that's the story of the Middle East. That's the story of the region.
But let's just say the Palestinian Authority has just stopped.
Well, because they don't have the money. They haven't stopped it. Trump has stopped it. Because he cut and the same.
Turn the tap off.
And the same with Iran on his latest administration. And the war that we're suffering now is because the tap will open again to Iran. And that's the sad truth. This is not a war of Jews versus Arabs. It's not a war of for land disputes. It's a war against Iran and that regime. And the moment the tap was open again, the influx of money in the region went back and created the chaos. So that's the sad thing. I'm also really hopeful that, there will be more peace and more Abraham Accords with Saudi Arabia. So again, I'm actually looking forward. And I think all these harsh stances that he's taking that cause outrage are actually a cover for him to get shit done.
Yeah. And also it's kind of his way of putting on his show.
Of course.
The Trump show.
Exactly, he's a showman. And by the way,
he is a showman.
He's a showman, and he's an incredible communicator, and he knows how and when to cause outrage. The same with the stupid paper straws. He made this big deal about there was a ban on paper straws, and he's bringing back plastic straws because they don't work and all of that.
Well, the paper straws are shit.
They are shit, but at the same time, it is a good thing to cut on plastic waste.
It is.
So
I'm a big fan of the metal straws.
That's the thing. It's or again, they can invent something new that works better than plastic.
Yeah, but let's get going with it.
Exactly.
Let's
but
get
it's
cracking.
Stop being woke about the paper straws. So again, I don't like the show he made about the plastic straws. I actually think it's a bit regressive and it's not moving forward. But it's the Trump show.
Yes.
That's my point.
Yes.
And by the way, whether people use paper or plastic straws, it's it's the most inconsequential decision either for the environment or anything. But the point is that half of the country was ecstatic about this, and half of the country was isn't he evil? So again, it is the Trump show, and he knows how to put the finger on the pulse to cause outrage and to get headlines and to get everyone all riled up.
Who's the woman he's got? I think she's amazing. The woman who he's got dealing with the anti-Semitism.
Stephanie.
Stephanie.
She's going to be on the UN. She's going to be the UN woman.
Yeah, she is excellent.
She's the one.
He has got a great team. He really has pulled together a fantastic team of people, men and women, who are going to get shit done.
Yeah, and that's what I keep saying, that when you see this inflammatory speech, I don't think people realize the team he's built for his second term, because I do think his mistake in the first term was he was new to politics.
But also he learned. He's learned.
Well, but that's my point, that he was new to politics. He'd never been in politics. He didn't know who to trust, who to appoint. All of a sudden he's in charge of all these things on people. Now he knows.
So
I think he's taking all his learnings and he's put together such a strong team. So when you see an inflammatory statement, there's an enormous amount of strategy and thinking, and a lot of people already working on how to implement the strategy just to achieve what the American people want, because
Yes.
that is the voice of the people, whether you like it or not.
Yes.
That's what people want. And by the way, the other really interesting thing is that his approval rating is the highest it has ever been.
I saw that.
On the previous administration and on this administration.
Yeah.
And why is it the highest? Because he's delivering on what people wanted. And surprise, surprise, people are not used to a politician promising shit and delivering.
And delivering. Exactly.
So it's crazy. I think it's incredible.
So yeah.
Whether you like it or not, what he's delivering, whether you agree, it doesn't matter. You live in a democracy, and most of the people chose that, and he's delivering on that, so they are happy, and that's why his approval rating. And by the way, not only amongst Republicans, also amongst Democrats, because people are also reaping the benefits from it.
However, I mean, we've got friends in
the
LA.
UK, it's the opposite. Nobody delivers whether you're right or left.
No,
they all fail.
They all fail. But we've got friends in LA actually, and they are like wanting to leave. She is so devastated about Trump. She just wants out of America, and she's also Jewish.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting. I really didn't think I'd ever be a convert to Trump, but here I am, 2025, 43-year-old woman, and
but again, because you have lived it, and
I've lived this. Yeah.
But again, that's why I say like it's the same delusional brainwash of the anti-Bibi, because it gets to very privileged people, by the way, the ones that say like, oh my God, I'm going to live this because the future is going to be like this dictatorship and I'm scared for my daughter, are the same people as the woke Tel Avivis entitled working in high tech that kept saying, oh my God, Israel is going to be a dictatorship. So I think people need to see these parallels and slowly wake up to the influence and impact of propaganda, which manifests to me as people living in democracies screaming, this is a dictatorship. No, the fact that you're screaming in a street, this is a dictatorship, is the biggest proof that you're living in a thriving democracy. And I think people really need to be mindful of that.
Yeah.
Again, I don't like Bibi. I don't like Trump. I didn't vote for Bibi. I can't vote for Trump. So I'm not saying but my point is people need to be mindful. But also, I was born in South America.
Yeah.
And I've lived in countries where with not strong democracies. And I really also know what oppression and poverty looks like at scale. And I know what forgotten people living in shitty conditions without a voice look like. I know what sexism and poverty and abuse and racial discrimination looks like. So it's really funny when people are up in arms in countries that are so privileged and so far removed from what the reality of a dictatorship looks like, screaming these things on the streets. I think they're just like brainwashed and delusional.
Growing up as a young girl, I was, Thatcher. Thatcher was, and I was terrified of her. I used to call her Mrs. Bossy Boots. Because she was. But my God, did she also get shit done? She wasn't always the most popular for it, because I don't think any prime minister or any president is going to be, Mr. or Mrs. Popular. But at the same time, Trump is reminding me of Thatcher. And so
or Churchill
or
anyone.
Churchill, and so for me,
but
now he's given me a sense of feeling positive and hopeful to a better future, and actually that's what's important right now.
Right, and isn't that the role of leadership in general, to have someone that you trust, that even that number one, he's able to go against the grain and make unpopular decisions, and you trust that it is for the greatest good, or at least for the people that voted for him, which is a majority in your country, which also want the best for your country.
Yes.
So is that sense, and if you don't have that trust, and he's broken that trust on the system and on democracy, and you say these are dictators that only care about cleaning up the corruption thing or staying in power, then that's why democracy is actually quite fragile.
Yeah.
Because the moment you don't trust them, but to me what he shows is leadership. It's like, you can all cry about this, but guess what? The majority voted me for a reason, and it's on the basis that they trust me, that I have the know-how, the information, access to all this knowledge and experience to make a decision, no matter how unpopular or unpopular it is for the population. And I think that's what Trump is proving.
Yeah.
And by the way, I think the same to an extent. Again, I don't love a lot of things Musk is saying at the moment, but it's the same. He's a billionaire, so he's in a position that he can make the most unpopular decision in terms of cutting budgets and funds in the US and how the money is wasted, which someone else that relies on the payment from the government and is already compromised by a million relationships of a 30-year political career just simply cannot make.
Yeah.
He's too compromised by the system. So I think there is something refreshing
Very
about having
refreshing.
leadership that don't give two fucks, have been elected and are in a position to execute their power as leaders
Yes. Yes.
in a democracy
Yes.
because they have been chosen. So I'm
Agreed.
positive about that.
Yeah.
Do I like everything they do? No. Do I like everything they say? No.
We're
Do I
never going
like
to like
everything they have
everything.
said in the past? No. But we are human beings
We
and
are.
we are all flawed.
We are.
But America chose
Yes.
and Israel chose.
Yes. Yes.
Whether we like it or not.
Yes. Yes.
So anyway, anything else?
I don't think so at the moment, but I'm sure Trump will be featuring again in another episode.
Oh
A
yeah.
bit further down the line.
Again, he's a showman and he's gonna make sure that he's gonna be in the headlines every flipping week and he's gonna say something incredibly silly, incredibly funny, incredibly outrageous every week to be at the top of the agenda while he gets the job done.
Yes.
That's my personal view.
Yeah.
Good. On
Thank
that
you.
note, thank you so much and we look forward to chatting soon and hopefully the outcome of all these things will be possible for everyone in the region.
Yes.
You know, I just want people to coexist. And by the way, how I wish that someone else, that it wasn't, I always say, I really wish that it wasn't America taking ownership of the situation. I wish it was Dubai saying, you know what, we have shitloads of money.
Yeah.
We're going to take ownership for this piece of land. We're going to de-radicalize it in the same way we de-radicalize, you know, the Emirates.
Yeah.
So it would have been amazing.
Yeah.
So again, it's not the fact that I love that America have to take charge of this piece of land. The real truth is that I wish it was a progressive Arab state taking ownership and responsibility for it.
Right.
But what was the reaction?
No.
No.
Nothing.
What Israel is doing is terrible. Okay, can you take like a refugee? No.
No.
How many? 23 million refugees Europe and the world took from Ukraine with open arms? How many refugees did the world, all the Arab countries took from Gaza? Zero. So again, everyone over the past 18 months, they've made their positions clear.
Yeah.
So in a way, they have left the ground fertile for someone. So it was Trump. It could have been Dubai to say, guys, this is a fucking maze. Let's relocate the people so they can have a good life while we readdress this, get rid of the terrorists, fix it, rebuild it, and then we'll see.
Yeah.
You know, but the world set the stage for Trump to come and do this. So it doesn't matter if everyone's outraged. Nobody else did anything.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
you know, so now, zip it.
Zip it. Exactly. And on that note,
Thank
again.
you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.